Okay, so I want to show you my process for editing Nearpods. So I'm going to go to the Nearpod lesson library and I'm going to search for a lesson that I've had my eye on about Maya Angelou. And it's this reflective writing um, Nearpod lesson. And it's super short, but I think it's a pretty impactful lesson. So it's focusing on reflective writing. So the students are obviously going to be doing some writing where they're reflecting on some personal stuff. And it gives you some prep for the teacher, pairing it with an African American history unit and familiarizing yourself with the actual stuff. So what happens here is they tell you that we're going to be looking at some work of Maya Angelou, and we're going to look at some details of her life. So this basically says that she lived with her grandma in Stamps, Arkansas when she was really little. She was actually abandoned by her parents, but then when she was 7, her dad came and got her and her brother and took her to St. Louis to live with her mom. And when she was little and she was in St. Louis with her mom, she was raped by her mother's boyfriend. And I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings, Maya Angelou's autobiography, reflects on that time in her life. And then it tells us that the Nearpod is going to take us to St. Louis. So you have to remember, Maya Angelou went from Stamps, Arkansas to St. Louis, and you're supposed to kind of reflect on this trip to St. Louis and how it might have shaped Angelou's life. And then you're supposed to think, are there moments or places in your childhood that have had a strong impact on you today? So we go to this Nearpod VR of St. Louis, and you can look around and you notice, look at this big shadow right there, and you can notice this big shadow on the ground. And then you see the city of St. Louis, and when you turn around, you can tell that it's probably, I don't know, maybe spring. There's no leaves on the trees, but then here you go. There's the big arch. So that could lead to some discussion. But see, what I think I would want to change about this lesson is I don't think it does a good enough job of really developing a sense of place. I would want my kids to maybe explore Stamps, Arkansas just a little bit, and then maybe explore St. Louis in a little bit more detail. So then the lesson goes on to say, we're going to watch a clip of Maya Angelou in later years talking about her life. And that's the Oprah Winfrey Network. You can see that right there. And then it gives the students the opportunity to reflectively write about a defining moment from your childhood and how it shaped your life. And then that's the end of the lesson, super short. So if I add that to my library and then I say, show that bad boy, it's going to open the lesson up. But remember, I said I wanted to edit it, and I do. I want to edit this. It gives me a warning, and it says you're going to edit a downloaded lesson. To keep a copy of the original, duplicate it. And so I like to duplicate the lesson so that I have the original one intact and then the one that I'm kind of editing. Look at all the slides. I have the ability to edit now. I can click on that. If I don't want my kids to see that materials and prep, I'm going to get rid of it. Even though I have the option of not pushing it to them, I can get rid of it. I can change this open-ended question if I need to edit that. If you'd want to put a quiz in, you could do that. I don't know if this is a really an appropriate Nearpod to put a quiz in, but I can do anything I want here. I can add slides, and this is going to bring up that whole bar of stuff that we know how to do. One of the things that I think I would want to do with this lesson is maybe add in a Google map. Maybe add in Google Maps. So what I might do is encourage the kids to maybe look at Stamps, Arkansas. Okay, so don't know what this is, but here's Stamps, Arkansas right here. There is a lake. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Basically a couple main roads. This looks like a pretty small town here. Oak Grove Road, Central Avenue, Hope Road, East First Street, and then like some little neighborhoods. So let's zoom in a little bit more and let's kind of like focus in on this lake area. And I'm going to change it to satellite imagery so that I can really get a sense of place. And then I think what I want to do is I kind of want to look around. I'm going to drag my little person, and when the road turns blue, I can drop my little guy, and that's going to take me to Street View. And I can kind of look around and kind of get a lay of the land. I can use my little, like, look at this. Oh, wow, look at this house here. I mean, I don't know. This is rural. So when she was 7 years old, she's with her grandma in this little rural town. You can talk about life in this rural town. Now, this image down here, if you look, this was captured in 2014. So, obviously she was living in this place, probably 50 years ago, 60 years, 70. I don't know. I don't know how old she was. But yeah, so then you put that against living in St. Louis, big difference. So maybe to add a map in, I would just want to go ahead and say Google Maps and click on Google Maps here, and then take this URL right here and copy it, and then go back to my Nearpod presentation and add a slide. And I would add web content, and I'd just put Google Maps right in there. And you can test the link if you want, but I'm sure it works. And you can hit save. And I should have paused the video while this was saving. Okay, now by default, when you add things, they always end up at the end. So maybe, and then you have to drag them. Like, okay, so here's the St. Louis Arch field trip. So maybe we might want to look at St. Louis first, or maybe we might want to explore the area and look at Stamps, Arkansas. It doesn't matter. But then when you save and exit, your Nearpod saves. And if this is back in my library. So now here's that. I should have renamed it. Yeah, here's how you can tell. If you look at, I can't point at it. If you look at this one, the second one, it says Nearpod VR. So that's the author. But if you look at the one to the left of it, it says my name. So that's how I know it's my edited one. So if I did a student paste of this, and I copied my code, and I put my code in, pretend like I'm a student, go to this, and my name should pop up. Okay, I'm going to sign in. I'm going to join the session. I think this would be better live session, but you can just get a sense of how I changed things around. So time to explore. So then my Google map comes up, and then I would lead a discussion with my kids on searching for Stamps, Arkansas, and then show them how to look around to just develop that sense of place. And then when I was done, I just click out of that and continue with my Nearpod. Now here's the VR of St. Louis. You could even use the My Maps to look at St. Louis as well, to really look at, one of the things I thought was really interesting was looking at the distance between St. Louis and Stamps, Arkansas, just kind of backing out and looking at the difference between the distance between the two areas. So anyway, that is how you can edit any Nearpod you want. I recommend duplicating them just to keep the integrity of the first original Nearpod, but you can make as many duplicates as you want and make those changes so that they meet the needs of your individual learners.